Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 2:58. We are 2 minutes, a minute and a half before the actual start of our program, of our presentation. Well, people are greeting already from all over. Um, yes, we want to know where you're coming from, the city and the province. If you can type in the chat box, hello, of course, to our friends from Philippine Women's University main campus. Hello to our friends from St. Teresita's Academy in Silay City, Negros Occidental. Yes, we have a big group from St. Joseph's Institute of Bacolod. OLMK, Zamboanga City. Hello, St. Teresita's Academy. Remedios Cruz of JASEMS, PWU. Good afternoon. Hello, welcome. Our friends from Philippine Science High School, main campus. From Batangas, from Stonyhurst. Yes. La Consolacion College, Manila. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. All the way from Davao, Holy Cross of Mintal, Davao City. Um, of course, from Centro de Cultura, Kawayan City, Isabela. I've been there and so happy to see you here. Um, Adamson University, of course, a very big group, a very big group of teachers we have from Adamson University, from Good Shepherd Cathedral School, Assumption College of Davao, Holy Cross Academy of Digos City. Hello, welcome. Holy Cross of Magsaysay from Davao del Sur. Hello. Yes, St. John's Institute, Bacolod, from Immaculate Heart of Mary Academy, Mate City, Davao Oriental. Welcome. La Union Bright Beginnings Learning Center, Mercedarian School of Zamboanga, Colegio San Agustin, Makati. Hello. Malayan High School of Science, Pandacan, Manila. Thank you for joining us on our fourth day of this series on Better Teachers, Better Schools. And it's already 3 o'clock, and so let's not delay any longer. Let's begin right away because our topic today is very important. It's, in fact, one of the things that, let me see, I'll pin myself so that we can concentrate. And okay, well, here's what research says, because all these 4 days, really, we've just been making reference to what research says. Our strategies are research based. Here's what research says: there are many teachers who give up, who leave the profession, who go to another field because of failure in classroom management. Okay? It's very unfortunate, but it happens. There are many teachers who quit teaching because they say they cannot take it anymore. They cannot handle the students anymore. They cannot manage the classroom anymore. So we're going to talk about how can we get the students to do what we want them to do without ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, yelling, getting upset, getting angry, having a high blood, and losing your temper, losing your patience. How? I'm going to share with you many strategies from some of the best teachers in the world. Well, I introduced myself on the first day just for the sake of those who are first time perhaps to join us today. I am Emmanuel Rentoy, Man Rentoy, and I have been a teacher for the last 34 years. I have not left the classroom, but I went to Sri Lanka for a year last year in order to push character formation there. Unfortunately, the pandemic prevented me to continue on with the work there, and so I have to come back here. So the last 11 years, I have been going around the world reaching out to teachers, parents, community leaders, giving them the same message. Please let us make character formation a top priority. Okay? We need to make character formation a top priority because that is where the crisis is right now among the young people inside our classroom, the so-called digital generation that we talked about yesterday. So, because of that work, I brought to the Philippines CEP, Character Education Partnership. We are an affiliate of the CEP based in Washington, D.C. That's why those of you who already got your certificates for the first 3 days, you may have noticed your certificate is considered attendance to an international seminar. One is because I am considered an international speaker on the basis of my experience in Washington, D.C., in New York, in Kuala Lumpur, in Sri Lanka, and in Thailand, in Malaysia and Thailand. And I am also the president and executive director of the Center for the Fourth and Fifth R's. Okay? um, Asia. We are an affiliate of Center for the Fourth and Fifth Arts that is based in the State University of New York in Cortland, USA. And your certificate is signed by myself and Dr. Thomas Licona, the director, founder of Center for the Fourth and Fifth Arts in the United States. Fourth and fifth R's because as I explained, the every human being, aside from knowing reading, writing, arithmetic, should have respect and responsibility. Respect and responsibility, fourth and fifth R's, which in the end is all about character formation. So that's why we are also known as the Dr. Thomas Licona Institute of Asia. Okay, this is Dr. Licona. I have brought him to the Philippines 4 times. We're very good friends, and he was the one who gave me the license to function as director of Center for the Fourth and Fifth R's for Asia. And he is considered the grandfather of character formation in the world because most of the experts in the field now are in that field thanks to Dr. Thomas Licona's books or Dr. Thomas Licona's personal dealings, including the author of many of the resources I gave you yesterday, Dr. Michelle Borba. Um, and the other book I have been making reference to is Hal Urban's Lessons from the Classroom, 20 Things Good Teachers Do. That's Hal Urban. I brought him to the Philippines 3 times already. And they say, if there is only one book you're going to buy on strategies for character building, character formation inside the classroom, it's got to be his book. Later, if you stay put, I'm going to announce to you how you can actually get a copy here in the Philippines of his 20 Things Good Teachers Do, Lessons from the Classroom by Hal Urban. Those of you who are familiar with Understanding by Design, UBD, well, this is Wiggins Grant, one of the 2 writers of Understanding by Design, from whom I was trained Understanding by Design. That's why for 5 years in early 2000s, I was going around the Philippines giving seminars to teachers about UBD. This is Dr. Michelle Borba, author of 28 best-selling books on character formation. Her latest book is Thrivers. Thrivers, why do some kids succeed even in troubled times? And I think you heard the advertisement we talked about, we gave last Monday. We invited her for a um, 4-hour session online. And the recording of that is going to be available for a 50% discount for the participants of this series this week. For more details, you can check out the Facebook page that I asked everyone, all the participants, to go to, where you can download so many materials, so many books, including the PowerPoint presentation that I'm using now. In fact, that PowerPoint presentation is going to be posted midway through our session today. Okay? So that in case something happens to your signal, your internet, like what happened to us last Monday, no problem. You can download the PowerPoint presentation, and later you can even click on the link where you can watch a recording of this session. Okay? That's why this session today we have is being recorded so that in case something happens to our signal, no problem. You can continue on your own. This is the other expert I brought to Manila, Ian Jukes. That's why I was able to share with you many details, many nuances about the digital natives thanks to him. And as I mentioned, especially I will talk more about it in class advisory. No, students are not the problem; they're the solution to our problem. But they need guidance, they need motivation, they need a little push. And one of the things I have been doing the past years is organize, with the help of students and only students, chastity conferences, for example, with top speakers from all over the world, like this one with Leah Darrow and Chris Stefanik, who spoke to 15,000 young people in World Trade Center. They talked about the beauty of chastity, purity, modesty, of keeping oneself clean, moral, upright, good, because this is what we need to do more and more these days. More than just teaching a subject, we've got to help the young people to grow up to be good with virtues. The other speaker, probably the best speaker in the world today on chastity, is Jason Everett, who came over 3 times already to the Philippines, and he spoke to 8,000 young students in PICC. Okay, so this was the last one that I organized as an international conference with Dr. Michelle Borba. Now, for today, our subject matter is classroom management. And I learned in my 34 years inside the classroom, I learned how to teach thanks to Dr. Harry Wong, the author of the best book on classroom management, many ideas of which I'm going to present to you today. I got to meet him in San Francisco and I brought him to Manila, and he got to speak to 7,000 teachers in SMX, thanks to Vibal Publishing, who helped me organize that conference. So, some of you, in fact, may have been there because the participants came from all over the Philippines, like what we have now in the audience. We are now 201 strong, and we have teachers from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And Harry Wong addressed 7,000 teachers from all over the Philippines that time. But if you were not there, no problem. I'm going to share with you today some of the salient points and many strategies I can share with you in the 2 hours that we're going to be together. Okay? As I said, his best book is First Days of School, which has sold more than 5 million copies. That's why that makes him the guru, the top guru on classroom management. And thanks to a cassette tape I got from him when I was a young teacher, entitled Once and For All, You Can Solve That Discipline Problem. Well, thanks to that cassette tape, I was able to learn his strategies, and you can make your students do what you want them to do without ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, yelling, getting angry. Okay? Because the reason why we included this in the series is, how can you form character if you're the kind of teacher like we hear about from other schools? They have to shout, they have to scream, they have to yell, they always have to be angry even. If you reach that point where every time you ask the students to do something, you have to ask it in an angry way. That is the only way you can make them do things. Stop. Either you are not for teaching or you are not doing things right. You need to learn strategies. You need to learn better ways of doing things. Okay? And this is what we're going to tackle today. Now, you know, there are many signs of bad teaching. And one of the worst signs of bad teaching is poor classroom management. But there are other signs. Let us take a look at warning signs of bad teaching in order to determine if are you doing things right? Okay, here are some warning signs that bad teaching is happening inside the classroom. Number 1, if the teacher shows little knowledge of the subject matter that he or she is supposed to be teaching. And sometimes we cannot avoid this. We meet teacher like this. Nako, Mrs. Batumbakal, Mr. Reyes resigned. Can you handle math for now? Wait, I'm PE teacher. Math is not my line. But we sometimes are forced into that situation, and you can almost be sure bad teaching is happening there because that teacher knows little knowledge, has little knowledge of the subject matter. Poor teacher, it's not her fault, it's not his fault, it's a fault of the circumstance, situation, or maybe it's a fault of the principal that why did she insist on assigning this teacher as a last resort? Okay, but that shouldn't be the permanent thing. And we have to look for better ways of addressing problems like that. Sudden resignations, sudden the subjects that are not attended to or that need to have teachers assigned to them, no? Number 2, when the teacher lacks basic academic skills, as basic as expressing themselves clearly, correctly, grammar wise, syntax wise, and with even with confidence, basic academic skills of communication, of writing, of expressing oneself. If even the basic things are missing, you can almost be sure bad teaching is happening there. Third, holds low expectations for students. This is the worst thing you can say on day one. You look around or you look at the students in the Zoom room and you say, you know what? Half of you will not survive my subject. And then you say it with confidence, like as if you are the guru of that subject matter. You are the expert. And, well, sorry, ma'am, but that's poor teaching that will happen there. When you have low expectation of your students, that will be prophetic. Your low expectation will really turn out to be correct. So we have to watch out against that. Number 4, makes little effort to maintain discipline. The students inside the classroom are saying, Sir, I cannot even hear the teacher. I cannot even understand her explanation because the class is noisy. I cannot even hear my teacher. And he or she is putting little effort to keep my classmates quiet. You can be sure bad teaching is happening there. Number 5, does not focus on academic goals. Number 6, cannot communicate knowledge in an interesting way. Number 7, gives disorganized lessons and vague, careless assignments. Itong number 6, students will say, the subject is boring. The teacher is boring. Why do we need to have that subject? Why do we need to study it? Why do we need to have that teacher? I heard the other teacher in the other section is more exciting and more friendly and more. Our teacher is boring and terror. So, there is where bad teaching can be happening. Or number 7, students are even saying, I don't even know why we are asked to do this assignment. I cannot see the connection with the lecture that he gave us last time. Disorganized, vague, careless assignments. Number 8, does not assign homework on a regular basis. Number 9, is not aware of your child's strengths, weaknesses, and interests. You know, here's something very tragic, and I've seen it happen in some classrooms. You are with a student for 200 days, 200 class days, and then they go on to the next level. When they go on to the next level, you discover, you hear, you realize that one of the students you had last year is one of the best violinists in the country today. So young and so talented, and yet you never discovered that. You never talked to the student about it. You never even realized you have one of the most talented persons inside your classroom. You are not aware of your child's strengths, weaknesses, and interests. You can almost be sure bad teaching may be happening there because there is no personal relationship. We mentioned this repeatedly the past 3 days. For education to be effective, it has to be personal. There's got to be a personal dealing relationship with your students. But Mr. Rentoy, I have so many students in my classroom. Well, that's the challenge, but still, you cannot be as effective if there is no personal relationship with the students. Okay, so bad teaching eh. So let's complete the list of 13 warning signs. Number 10, shows little enthusiasm for her work or for his work. These are the kind of teachers na when they enter the classroom, they look like they are being tortured. Yan. Or when they appear in the Zoom room, they look like they're not happy to be there. And worse, if when we even vocalize, I mean, express it, if I have a choice, I don't want to meet with you today. I don't like, well, that's enthusiasm for you. Well, little enthusiasm, that makes the classroom most likely a place for bad teaching. Number 11, belittles students' efforts. 12, shows no interest in communicating with parents. This is very important because I know not all schools foster homeschool collaboration. Not all schools are open to getting the parents to collaborate, to communicate. I even met some school teachers who see parents as people in the other side of the fence, like as if they're enemies, like as if they're in the opposite camp, quote unquote, like as if there's a battle going on and the other side of the fortress are the parents. Maybe that's a warning sign that maybe bad teaching can be happening because we are not trying to get the parents to work with us, to collaborate with us in support of the academic goals. Number 13, and this so far, in fact, is the most repeated idea in the last 3 days, exhibits unsound character or unprofessional behavior. That is a clear sign of bad teaching, especially teaching in the real sense of the word of impacting lives, molding character, forming students, not just teaching subjects, but teaching students. So then, Harry Wong talks about 4 stages that all teachers go through. He said, all teachers go through these 4 stages. Unfortunately, without proper training, without good seminars like this, they can be stuck in one stage for very long, for a long time. So then, what are these 4 stages? So that we can actually get to skip the first three and go to the highest stage of teaching. First stage, di ba? Some of you decided to become teachers because you wanted to make a difference. You wanted to change the world. You wanted to raise up young people to become good men and women of character. That's why you were very excited when you were a beginning teacher. Maybe the day before your first ever class day. Remember that? The very first class that you would attend, the night before, your clothes were already well ironed and prepared, and you were ready with your jokes and your unit plan, your lesson plan. You were ready with your script for the whole period. And you thought, I'm going to make a difference in the world. I will be the favorite teacher of my students. I will be a very popular student. People will like me. That is the stage called fantasy. Harry Wong talks about the stage of fantasy where um, you even thought that you will become the favorite of the whole school. Your students will talk highly about you, and you even thought that when you say, "Okay, class, it's time," your students will say, "No, ma'am, we want more. We want more. We want more." Fantasy. Okay, and fantasy ends on the day that you enter the classroom and give your lesson that you prepared hard, you really spent a lot of time preparing for, and you will see John and Joey sleeping in your class. And fantasy ends the day you enter the classroom and the room is very messy and there's trash on the floor. The rows are in disarray. Students are very noisy. They are laughing boisterously. Some of them are there in the corner. They see you entering the classroom, but they continue laughing anyway. They ignore you. And fantasy ends that day. And you have to shout to get them to keep the room in order. You have to get angry to get them to go back to their places. You have to raise your voice in order to be heard because the noise level is very high. And you now enter the stage called survival. Welcome to the stage of survival. Uh, Some teachers are in the stage of survival after every class period. They go to the faculty room, slumped on the chair like that. Parang they came from a marathon race, so tired and so exhausted, and they are counting the number of days, 62 more days before Christmas break, like that, no? When Dep Ed announces no classes because of typhoon, because of these teachers who are just surviving are the happiest, even happier than the students that there is no school on such and such a date. Here's something even worse, and it's very sad. Some teachers stay in the stage of survival for too long. After the period, after the class, they go to the faculty room, slumped on the chair, very tired, very exhausted, and they are counting the number of years, 13 more years before retirement, surviving. You prepare unit plans, right? Lesson plans. Objective of the day, to survive the day. Objective of the day, to end the day without ever having to lose my temper, without ever having to get upset, get irritated, get angry. That is the objective of the day. Survival. When it's very sad because these teachers decided to become teachers precisely because they do want to make a difference in the lives of their students. They want to mold minds, form character, and raise young people to be good men and women of character. But they don't know how to go about it. That's why they just keep on trying to survive. Okay? Like as if the only objective is to finish the class without John and Joey getting into their usual boisterous ways, without Joanna and Geraldine talking with each other. And I don't have to repeat 17 times, John, stop talking. John, stop talking. John and Joey, eyes here. Sit up straight, arms forward. Stop talking. Come look here. Without even having to say those things, that are strategies. I mean, think about it. The number of times you ever had to say, stop talking, sit up straight, eyes on the board, keep quiet, no talking. Put together all those things. You're no wonder you're very tired and exhausted and exasperated when there are strategies, where you don't even need to say, stop talking, keep quiet, eyes here, face on the board, um, copy notes, no movement. There are strategies, and I'm going to share with you those strategies. But a good teacher continues trying and trying and trying until she starts discovering better and better ways of doing things. For example, you discover, oh, if I make the students do this activity, they are very excited, they are very engaged, they participate. I like this activity. I will do it every year. Or, uy, if I teach the subject this way, they understand it better. If I discuss this first chapter first, they understand the lesson. You continue teaching and you discover better and better ways of doing things. You enter the third stage called mastery. And some of you, I know, as you hear these descriptions, I know some of you are thinking, ah, yeah, I'm like that. I already have better ways of doing things. You notice the master teachers? Have you tried to observe real master teachers in action inside the classroom? Well, unfortunately, we're not inside the classroom these days, but try to imagine those master teachers. Did you ever wonder, how do they do it? They stand in front of the class and suddenly everybody keeps quiet. The teacher does not say anything, not a word. He doesn't raise his voice. She doesn't even raise her eyebrows. But suddenly the students keep quiet. How does he do that? Well, there are strategies. There are ways of doing things. And that's the reason why that's the reason why they're called master teachers. They have reached a level of mastery, better ways of doing things. They have strategies. And if you're a good teacher, especially young teacher, you should be hungry to observe master teachers. How do they do it? How do they teach? How do they discipline the class? How do they manage the class? Observe from the strategies that they use, and you will realize no wonder he's a master teacher. He has many tricks up his sleeves, and I'm going to share as many of those tricks with you. But today, you see, that's only the third stage of teaching. There's a fourth stage, which is what I've been talking about the last 3 days in the first three topics. At a certain point, you don't just teach for mastery, you make an impact. As I said, your success now is to be able to say at the end of the year, I made an impact in my students. I made a difference in the lives of my students. My students are better human beings, not just better in math, not just better in science, not just better communicators in English. They are better human beings because I taught them English, science, math, social studies, chemistry, biology, whatever subject it is that we are handling. That is what we're after in our Better Teachers, Better School series. We want to make an impact in the lives of our students. Those are the four stages. Examine yourself. Where are you now? Are you still trying to survive? Now, the pandemic threw us into this situation where you are forced to do your classes online. Accept it, admit it. All of us suddenly are just merely trying to survive. Don't feel bad about that because this is not what we are trained to do. This is an irregular situation. So please be kind to yourself, be forgiving to yourself, be very understanding with yourself. Don't expect your internet, for example, to be 100% reliable. It is not. Not in the Philippines, not in our situation where suddenly you can have a typhoon like what happened last Monday that can kill our electricity. So please don't um, stress yourself out thinking that you are not doing enough or you did not teach as well this past year because this is just an irregular situation. We look forward to being able to get back to the classroom, but even better, let's continue learning strategies that we can be master teachers even online and making an impact even inside the Zoom classroom and the Google Classroom. Okay, So those are, according to Harry Wong, the four stages of teaching. Especially beginning teachers, they fall into the trap of fantasy. And so you have some young teachers trying too hard to be cool, to be liked. Because you remember what I said at the start, it's for beginning teachers, no? The our start, we decided to become teachers, and we think that we are going to be the favorite. We are going to be the most popular teacher in the school. All this fantasy, and it's very pathetic when I meet a teacher who looks like he is running in a popularity contest, trying too hard to be liked by the students. It's pathetic. And many times I've seen it end tragically, where the students feeling like the teacher is just a barkada, a peer, and then they get confused about the delineation between respect and friendship. Ah, that's when trouble begins. And I've seen it tragically end with many teachers. So please, young teachers, forget it. You are not in a popularity contest. Your success is not being the most popular teacher in the school, okay? Your success is your students should be able to say, I'm a better human being thanks to that teacher. I'm I have more virtues thanks to that teacher. Okay, now I mentioned best book on classroom management, Harry Wong's First Days of School. Here is the best magazine any school should have. I mean, if your school can afford only one expensive international magazine, well, let it be this educational leadership. And how I wish all schools can get hold of copies of educational leadership, the magazine, where they put together all the top best researches done by experts in the field of education, teaching, learning, the brain, how the brain works, motivation, etc., educational leadership. And they came out with this milestone study where they interviewed thousands of teachers spanning 50 years, asking them, what are the top traits of effective teachers you've had? They put all the answers together, and here are now the top three that came out. First, the most top, I mean, number one on the top of the list of effective teachers. An effective teacher is a good classroom manager, which is what the course today is all about. You see, um, we've seen it even in our lifetime. Learning can happen even in uh, a non-air conditioned classroom. You remember? That was how our classrooms were before. There was no aircon. Nowadays, most private schools are pressured to have air conditioning unit. Otherwise, they are not considered as a top school. Or I mean, it's absurd. But you see, even during that time, we didn't have a class an air condition. If the teacher is a good classroom manager, we learned. We were able to learn and learn well. In fact, learning has happened under the santol tree and under the mango tree. It has. So teachers, please don't tell me, Mr. Antoy, we could be good teachers sana if there's computer in every classroom. If only the administration will give all of us a laptop each, the high-speed tablet that we can use. Okay, if you can afford those things, fantastic, very good, keep it up, go for it. If your budget can allow. But, you see, it's not the key to having an effective teacher, because in fact I was a consultant once to an international school. Every classroom has LED, I mean a high definition television, but they have problems with bullying, but they have problems with students being disrespectful to the teacher. So it's not the facilities, it's not the an effective teacher is a good classroom manager. That's the number one trait. Here's the second trait they found. An effective teacher designs lessons to reach mastery. So, teachers, my dear fellow teachers, all 236 of us inside this Zoom room now, let me tell you, Let us not be fans of teachers who are mayabang, no? They brag that in my class half don't survive, half of them fail, and well, I failed them because my standards are high. Well, according to this research, sir, ma'am, maybe something is wrong with the way you design your lesson. Maybe there's something wrong about you deliver your lesson. Maybe you deliver it with too much arrogance and pride and puffed up feelings. Because you feel that you are the expert and summa cum laude and valedictorian. Congratulations, okay. But that's not what the students need. The students want and need an effective teacher who designs lessons for the students to reach mastery. That's why I'm a big fan of UBD, understanding by design. I mean, really, deliberately, systematically, even scientifically, you find ways of designing your lessons so that the students will understand, will have a deep understanding with the essential knowledge and so that is second trait of effective teachers. They design lessons to reach mastery. And number three, we've already mentioned somehow this earlier. An effective teacher has positive expectation that students will be successful. Okay? So you enter the classroom, Zoom room, Microsoft Classroom on day one, and things that come out of your mouth should be words like, class, this is going to be the most exciting year you will have. You're all going to learn. We are all going to work hard. And I promise you, you will be successful if you do what I ask you to do. If I tell you to study, study. If I tell you to read the books, then please read the books. Okay, we have a comment in the box. Not clear, voices overlapping. Can I get a rating? 3 if sound is perfectly okay. 2 is if problematic. 1 if there is no sound. 3, 2, or 1. Okay, we're seeing practically all threes. So the one who posted that comment, maybe you need to log out and then log in again because there's only one so far who posted 2. Everyone else put 3. Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to make sure. At any point, if my sound becomes problematic or the video becomes problematic, kindly please type the 3, 2, 1 again to call my attention so that well I let's see what we can do. Okay, but offhand, based on everybody's posts, I've been getting 3s. Thank you. Okay, so let's get to classroom management. Research says that the number one factor governing learning is classroom management. Don't tell me, sir, kung kilala mo lang yung students namin, if only you know our students, they don't have discipline. Ayan, so I've heard that too many times. Sir, if only you know our students, they don't have self-esteem. You know, they come from poor families, poor background, and they come to the classroom and they are not motivated. They don't have self-esteem. Yes, but if the teacher is a good classroom manager, he or she is capable of precisely providing that esteem, that motivation. Sir, if only you visit our classroom, there are so many students. The class size is just too big. Okay, I admit it would be more difficult than usual, but still, research says the number one factor is not class size. It's not motivation, it's not self-esteem, it's not discipline, it is classroom management. If the teacher knows how to manage the class, then learning can happen. Now let us differentiate. Please, Harry Wong says, you don't need discipline if you know classroom management. Stop disciplining and start managing. That's the principle. So not everything is about discipline. Because many times, in fact, the problems inside the classroom is not about John, Joanna, and Geraldine not having self-control. It's about the teacher not putting systems in place, not putting procedures in place that make the students do what you want them to do. Let's differentiate. Discipline is different from management. Clear example of that is in airlines. Whatever airline you ride, United Airline, Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific, Air Asia, any airline you enter, the procedures are the same before takeoff. The procedures are the same in any airline that you enter. Now, you have a problem when students start telling you, Ma'am, why is this not allowed? In the class of Mrs. Batumbakal, we can do it. How come we cannot eat? In the class of Mr. Reyes, we can eat. How come we cannot transfer seats? In the class of Miss Geraldine, we can. That's when you have trouble. So, principle of Harry Wong, have the same procedures, not rules, have the same procedures in every classroom so that the students know that what they were asked to do, to follow, in the class of Mrs. Batong Bakal will be exactly the same that they will be asked to follow in the next class and in the next. So, one of the things you teachers should do before we open the next school year is sit down and then make your procedures uniform so that in any classroom that the student enters, they know exactly what is expected of them, how to behave. So, what are the procedures in any airlines? You're asked to open the window shade, close the table in front of you, straighten up the desk, fasten your seatbelt, keep your cell phone in off or silent mode. You see, all the airlines, whatever it is, even international airlines, will have the same procedures. Now, they're not rules. They are simply what you are expected to follow. They're just procedures, not rules. Okay? Now, what do the stewardesses do after reviewing the procedures? You see, that's why the first things you should do at the start of the school year, now you're preparing to open a new school year. Well, please spend a lot of time in the first days of school practicing, teaching, rehearsing the procedures. No wonder that's the title of the book of Harry Wong, First Days of School, because that's the most crucial period when you should be teaching and rehearsing with the students procedures. Now, what do the stewardesses do after reviewing the procedures? They go around the airplane, right? When they see someone not following the procedure, they only do two things. Only two things. They call you ma'am or sir, and they tell you exactly what they want you to do. Only that. Ma'am, the window, please. We're about to take off. Thank you. You can include the thank you afterwards. Sir, the seatbelt, please. And then they help you put it on. Thank you. Sir, please close the table. We're about to take off. Thank you. That's it, sir or ma'am. And then they tell you exactly what they want you to do. That's management. Now, here is what stewardesses will do if they follow the principle of teachers who discipline terror teachers. You know them. We've had some of them when we were grade school and high school, hopefully not in college, but we have seen these disciplinarians. This is what the stewardesses will do if they follow the principles of these terror teachers. They will go around and they will see someone not fastening seatbelt and they will say, excuse me, did you understand the announcement? Do I need to say it to you in Tagalog? What's wrong with you? Were you listening? Were you paying attention? That's disciplining. Many useless words. And you have some teachers, in fact, who think that the more harsh they are with the students, the more disciplined the students will become. No, they will not. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. And worse is when they go around, uh, can you please fasten your seatbelt? Look at you. Your son also is following you. What's wrong with the two of you? They have problems with your ears. They say these harsh words, insulting things even, and they think that they are being effective in disciplining. So, Harry Wong is correct. Stop disciplining, start managing. John, please be seated. Joanna, stop talking. Geraldine, eyes here, please. Just the name and tell the person exactly what you want him or her to do. So then, in online class, I admit it is not as easy, especially if some of them will insist that they turn off their video because they say they're only using data, that their Wi-Fi is going to be problematic. Here is what I need to tell you. Don't trouble yourself with that. Never mind if that student turned off the video and actually is Facebooking or Instagramming or even watching Netflix. Um, this is an irregular situation we are in right now. And do not punish yourself unnecessarily with all those thoughts that the students are putting one over you. Let them put one over you. Do as you, whatever you can to manage and to survive this year, this situation. And then we just come out with creative ways on making sure that they are actually able to learn what we want them to learn, which is the bottom line of why they go to school. We want to teach them. So, but please, teachers, do not be too harsh on yourself. Don't have the same high standards of discipline and of students paying attention to you 100%. This is not the usual, okay? What I'm simply saying is, if you find yourself stressing out because of thoughts like that, you need to calm down and convince yourself that this is just not the normal for now. Okay? And many years from now, when we're back to the classroom situation, I mean, hopefully just a matter of months, and we're already back inside the classroom as what we have been trained to do. But in the future, we just look back to this specific year, specific period when we had to teach online and we were forced to do it this way. And it's just period where we learned many lessons, yes, but it was harsh. It was hard. It was difficult. It was challenging. But please don't punish yourself unnecessarily. Okay, the message of please calm down, calm down. So then, but let's learn principles of managing, even if we are in this situation right now. Stop disciplining and start managing. And this is especially true, of course, in online. You know, some viral videos that were passed around of a teacher getting angry at students online. I mean, you have seen some of those videos passed around, and a student answering back, even asking, "Why are you angry, sir? Why are you angry?" Like that, you know. And it's messy. It's sad. It's tragic that things like that have to happen. But again, I just have to point out, let's just stay calm, okay? So now, how do you get the students to do what you want them to do? It's through procedures and routines, not rules, because you're not disciplining. Rules are for discipline. Procedures and routines are for managing. And therefore, how can we get the students to do what we want them to do? Well, clearly define classroom procedures and routines. And the same applies for online classrooms. What is your procedure? You expect them to go online at this time. And then we will begin the class after 2 minutes of waiting for everybody to get in. I mean, factoring in the reality that sometimes it may take time for them to log on. It may take time for them to finally get inside the Zoom room. I mean, we have to be open to all these possibilities because these are the realities. But you have procedures. Do you want them all to have their videos open the whole time? That's a procedure. Did you announce it to them? Did you tell them that expectation? Did you say that that is what you're going to expect them to follow for the rest of the school year? That every time you are lecturing, you want them to all turn on their videos? Then you say it so, say so. Okay. And then procedures on um, how do you want your assignment to be submitted? Do you expect them to email it, to send it by Facebook Messenger? Do you expect them to post it here in the Zoom room or the Google room? I mean, what is your procedure? It's important that you are able to clearly define these classroom procedures and routines. Now, procedures are what you expect students to do. Okay, well, we'll define that later. But first, here's what research says. Of course, you want students to be responsible, but research says that the only way you can have responsible students is if you have procedures and routines which the students can be responsible to. You see, please take note. You are telling the students to be responsible to the procedures, not to you. Okay? Therefore, ma'am, sir, don't ever say, John, how many times do you have to tell you? Are you challenging my authority? No, he is not challenging your authority. He is just not following your procedure. Don't take it personal. Because I've seen teachers who say things like that. Are you challenging my authority? How many times do you have to tell you? Do you not know how to understand, how to listen? Yeah. Okay. But if you have procedures and routines, then okay, I was saying earlier, you just need to do two things. John, please be seated. Joanna, sit up straight. Geraldine, eyes on the board. You know, there are strategies where you don't even need to say those things. And I'm going to teach you those strategies, especially when we enter the second phase later. We are still in the introduction on principles of managing. When students know how the class is run, they will more willingly do whatever you want them to do. That's research based. And that is true. I mean, really, it's true. If they know how you run your class, how the class is run, they will more will willingly do what you want them to do. If you made it very clear to them that you will accept assignments only by email, then they will submit it by email. They will not send it to you in FB Messenger. How informal. They will not ask a classmate to take care of passing it on to you. If you made your procedures in submission of assignments, in if they have a question, how do you want inside the classroom, for example? Do you want them to raise their hand? Do you want them to stand by their desk? Do you want them to write it down on a piece of paper? What is your procedure? If they know those things, they will willingly follow. But the problem sometimes is you never talked about it. So they just blurt out the answer. They just stand up and go to the trash can because you didn't tell them that the procedure, if you want to throw trash, is put it in your pocket first and wait until the break or whatever procedure it is. We're going to talk about specific ones. Okay, so let's differentiate procedures and routines. Procedures, what you want students to do, and routines, you make them do the routines, you make them do the procedures over and over and over again until they become routines. They become automatic. Students know exactly what they need to do. If they want to recite, if they come in late, if the teacher is not there, if you want them to keep quiet, you need to announce something. What is the procedure? Okay, so I'm going to give you concrete strategies, precisely concrete procedures that you should teach your class. Okay, but let's accept first that principle. The number one problem in the classroom is not discipline. It's not about John, Joanna, and Geraldine having no self-control. It's about John, Joanna, and Geraldine not following the procedures that you taught and rehearsed. And here's another important point from Harry Wong. Sabi niya, Many schools, many classrooms have procedures. You teach them, but you did not rehearse them during the first days of school. That's why they may not even remember the procedure because you did not rehearse over and over and over again until they become routine. Okay, so let's take a look at some concrete procedures you should have. One of the things you should do before the new school year opens is to, as a faculty, sit down and draw up as many procedures as you want the students to learn and to rehearse. Remember, these are not rules. They are just what you want students to do and how you want students to do them. Let's give example. Passing in papers. Harry Wong said in many schools, this is a problem because many teachers do not have correct procedure in collecting papers. Um, Especially teachers who still say something like, okay, class, time's up, pass the papers forward. Remember, many teachers say that, pass the papers forward, which Harry Wong said is the worst way to collect papers. Why? Because you know what happens, especially in a classroom setting where students are in rows. And then the students at the back will try to pass the papers. You know, this is, let's say, an exam. Stop writing, pass the papers forward. The students at the back want to be the first to submit because they're farthest. They want their paper to reach the teacher right away. But the person in front is not finished, is not, did not follow instruction. The teacher said, stop writing, pass the papers forward. You have students like that who will continue writing, continue answering, and they will not stop until the teacher says, okay, paper's not in, I will not collect anymore. That's a waste of energy, waste of time. So what happens? The people at the back trying to submit and the person in front still writing. So what does the guy at the back have to do? He has to hit the person in front of him with a paper. Uy, pass the paper. And then the person in front gets angry and looks at the guy and says, I'm not done yet. Uh, and then the whole room erupts into chaos simply because he said, pass the papers forward. So it's the wrong way of collecting papers, of passing in papers. Here's a good example, and I've done it. I followed it many times, and it works, especially in classrooms where you have an aisle in the middle. Here's what I say. Here's my procedure. Okay, class, at the count of five, all papers in. You see, you're a very professional teacher. You value time, and you can only afford count of five to be able to get all the papers, not more. You don't want to waste time. Time is very valuable to you. And I've rehearsed this with my students so they know. I start counting. Five, four, three. You see, I start from five because if you start from one, that can go to 1,000. But if you count from five, that ends with zero right away. Five, four, three, two, one. So when I say five, we rehearsed it. The people in the edges at the ends of the rows should already be passing the paper to the person next to them, leading to the aisle. Four means the next person should already have placed his paper on top and should be already passing to the person next to him. Three means the next one. Two means the next. And by the time I reach one, the papers are all in the aisles. I just have to walk down the aisle and collect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Don't be afraid to say thank you very much. Some teachers are afraid to say that, especially those who reach the point where they already have to shout, scream, and yell just to be able to make the students do what they want them to do. Now, I see John not following instruction, not following the procedure. Don't get angry. Don't get mad. John is not challenging your authority. He is just not following the procedure. So what do you say? John, what's the procedure, please? Show me. He will pass the paper. Thank you. Day two. Okay, let's do it again. All papers to the aisles at the count of five. For John is not following again. What do you say? John, what's the procedure, please? Show me. He will do it. Thank you. Day 100, the same thing. Day 200, the same thing, but you never had to get angry because John is never challenging your authority. He is just not following the procedure. Just make him. That's it. It's not breaking rules. It's not disrespect. It's not disobedience. He is just not being responsible to the procedures. Now, better yet, there are strategies to get John to always follow the rules. We'll talk about that later. Now, just give me one more example here. When teacher is tardy, many schools, many classrooms don't have procedure. So, if the bell rings, for example, and the teacher is not there, there's no procedure, the classroom erupts into a chaos because there's no teacher. Not my classroom, because we have a procedure, which I explained and we rehearsed, and they know what to do. Okay, class, if the bell rings and there's no teacher, class president, class vice president, you take over, you stand in front of the class, and class secretary, you go to the office to ask, is Mr. Antoy here? Is there a substitute? There's no teacher in our classroom. That's the procedure. They know it, they follow it, and they never, the classroom never has to erupt into a chaos. More procedures. You can have as many procedures as you want for as long as you rehearse them. Don't just teach them, rehearse them with the students. Let's just give one example from this list. Coming to attention. Ineffective teachers don't have strategy, don't have a procedure to get the students to come to attention. So if they enter the classroom and the classroom is very noisy, they have to shout. But the noise is too high, so they have to shout even more loudly to be heard. No, that's punishing yourself. Um, Here's the procedure. Okay, class, uh, I will give you many times discussion. Get a partner and discuss a question. And you can imagine the noise level. But if I want to make an announcement in the middle of that, I will just go to the middle of the classroom and calmly raise my hand. You see, if you see the teacher with his hand or her hand calmly raised like that, it means salami, salami, stop and look at me. Stop whatever you're doing, stop whatever you're saying, even if you're in the middle of a sentence, and look at the teacher. If you see your classmate looking the other way, tap him or her, point to the teacher, salami. Okay? And then we rehearse it. Okay, get a partner, discuss what did I do last summer, and then when I give the signal about the salami, then you know what to do. So they get a partner, the noise level goes up, and then at a certain point, I go to the middle of the room, calmly raise my hand, salami. And I don't have to say anything. I don't have to shout. I don't have to bang my hand on the board. I don't have to, like what some teachers do, flicker the lights on and off just to catch the attention because they need to announce something. No need to do any of those because the procedure is very clear. Now, here's another strategy. Instead of salami, you can have the bell method. Class, if I need to make an announcement, if I need you to stop talking and listen to me, you will hear the bell. I will ring the bell, and then I will count 3, 2, and 1. By the time I reach 1, I expect everybody to keep quiet and look at me. Okay? Let's try it. Some of you sit down there at the edge and etc. So you rehearse it until it becomes a routine. And you can come up with many other procedures. Now, graduation time comes, you also teach them procedures. How to receive the diploma, how to shake the hands, how to bow before the audience. That's a procedure, that's not a rule. And you rehearse the students over and over and over again until they are able to perfect the graduation ceremony. So some procedures we teach along the way, middle of the school year, towards graduation, etc. But that's the important thing. That's what is important about procedures. You have to rehearse them until they become routine for the students because it's the procedures that set up the class for achievement to take place. It is now 4:08. We've been talking for an hour. We are up for a little break. Okay? I will have to take a little break so that you can go to the washroom, get your water, or just breathe a bit because we have been talking nonstop and I want to share just a few videos with you as a way of being able to take a bit of rest for all of us.
Dear teachers, last spring you made the shift from face-to-face teaching to pandemic pedagogy. In a matter of days, you found innovative solutions to huge challenges. You designed virtual lessons with limited time and limited resources. And there was no roadmap or blueprint. Now, it wasn't perfect. There were some mistakes along the way. But you were there for your students every single day. You've proven that social distance doesn't have to mean relational distance. Despite the roadblocks, you've built a classroom community on empathy and kindness, where students engage in meaningful collaboration. You've done check-ins and partnered with families. You've helped find resources for students who are struggling. You've experimented with new approaches, and you've taken creative risks. You've continued to learn. You're reading books, watching videos, listening to podcasts, and reading articles. And you're curating content and engaging in professional discussions. You're crafting meaningful lessons that empower students with voice and choice, like that awesome scavenger hunt, or the maker project, or that blogging project, or the choice menu, or the game-based learning activity you did. Now, 2020 has been hard. We've seen wildfires and natural disasters and an economic downturn. Oh, and apparently murder hornets? Seriously, murder hornets. Meanwhile, teaching is especially challenging right now. It can feel draining when you have a barrage of emails to answer, or when you do a video conference and face a wall of black screens. Some of the social media comments about teachers have been downright toxic.
summer holidays. They're just kidding.
Sharing your passion.
And you see somebody suddenly a little light come on and go, oh, you know, and you think, where did that come from?
There's been many students over the years. Trying to keep them in school was hard. And to see some of them now really achieving, that's amazing.
There was a period of time where I was quite quiet and blended in, and Mike had this great way of beginning to unlock that.
It's kind of his fault that I now work in theatre.
The moments we shared in those lessons were priceless.
He made me feel brave enough to step into it.
I think if he'd never taught me, I'd probably still be working at Starbucks.
Don't go in it for recognition.
What, stranger?
Oh my goodness.
How are you doing? Hey. You're right.
Brought you here today to express how much of an impact you've had on my life.
Oh my goodness.
Hi Jonathan, love you lots.
I actually first met Jonathan when I was only 10.
He's caring, contributing, awesome, fantastic, funny, intelligent, and most of all, is one of the best human beings I know.
I mean, this man deserves an OBE.
Because he makes you feel important.
I'm now doing what I love, and I'm doing it because of you. So thank you for everything. Thank you.
Oh. That's really lovely. Yeah, can I make it? Yeah. I don't get emotional. If you can change someone's perceptions of themselves and make them better than what they thought they were, then I think you've done a good job.
Okay, I think that's a good enough rest for all of us. We can resume because there are still many things to cover. Yeah, we are still actually in the principles of disciplining when really we want to learn strategies. We want to learn those strategies. Okay, so we pin there. Let's proceed. Now, here are some principles to keep in mind about disciplining and managing. You're familiar with Kohlberg, who researched on the levels of moral development. Why does a person become good? Try to become good. Well, his theory is people pass through 6 stages of moral development, okay? And the lowest level of moral development, these are kids, for example, who just don't want to get into trouble. They're going to do the right thing because they don't want to get into trouble. So the parents say, you better watch out, or else you wait for your dad. Just wait for your dad. So they threaten them with punishment. And so here's a kid who's going to try to behave just because he doesn't want to get into trouble. It's the lowest form of acting good, behaving. Here's the second level. And the primary school teachers, the teachers in the lower grades are very fond of resorting to this. I want a reward. So it works, right? When we tell them, you're going to get a smiley on your here, on your hand. You're going to get a star on your diary, on your notebook. I'm going to give you a reward. So you have kids who are trying their best to behave because there's a reward promised to them. This is already better than behaving just because they don't want a sanction, a punishment, a trouble, which is the lowest. But we can still do better than this. In fact, the reason why level 2 is not good is because in real life, sometimes, no matter how good your work is, the reward doesn't come. Remember? I mean, we know that no matter how much you work, sometimes the reward doesn't come. Do you stop doing the good? No. You continue doing the good because it's the right thing to do. Here's level 3. I want to please somebody. And we have kids like that. We have students like this who are studying very hard because they want to please their parents. Or sometimes you even meet students who are working so hard because they want to please the teacher. Diba? Minsan that's what we call them, sip-sip. They want to please somebody. Okay, very nice. Now, actually, this is already better than just a reward or avoiding a punishment. But we can still do better than this. Here's level 4, according to Kohlberg, applied by Rafe Esquith inside the classroom. Number 4, I follow the rules. And it's amazing when you have students like this, right? They they're going to behave not because there's a reward, there's a punishment, they're trying to please somebody, but simply because they want to follow the rules. Now, in real life, in real life, the heroes, for example, are those who go beyond the rules. So, I mean, sometimes in life, there is more to life than rules. Jose Rizal broke rules. Our heroes broke rules, went against rules even. I mean, even Jesus Christ broke rules. He performed a miracle on a Sabbath because charity above all. So he broke rules because the Jewish rule tells them you're not allowed to do anything like that on a Sabbath day. But our Lord performed miracles on a Sabbath day. He didn't follow the rules because sometimes in life, there is something more important than just rules. Here's the 5th level. I am considerate of other people. You see, if we can make the students behave, not because you have a reward to offer them, a punishment to threaten them with, or because it's the rule, but class, please be considerate of the 2 other classrooms beside you. Maintain silence. Don't create noise because there are classes going on beside our classroom. That's better than you better watch out, you better watch out, or else. Yeah, that's level 1. Class, if I don't receive complaints from the students and the class teachers, the other classrooms, we're going to watch a movie. I will give you a reward. Level 2. But if we can make the students considerate of other people, class, please study hard, okay? Your parents suffer a lot to pay for your tuition. Be considerate of their sacrifices. That's fantastic. More and more, that's what should come out of our mouth in managing the students, in disciplining the students, not threatening them with punishment, not offering a reward, but just telling them, come on, do it for yourself, for your future. Because um, the way you do in your exams, how you do in your exams will have a bearing on what university you will get into and your choice course to take and your success in the future. Effectively, studying hard now means being considerate of your children, your future family. That's what we have to implant in the mind of our students. But number 6, the highest level of moral development is this. I have a personal code of behavior and I follow it. And here is what an effective teacher is able to say. Okay, class, I expect best behavior, okay? Not because I have a punishment or a reward, but because you are carrying the name of our class. When the teacher is able to say that, it means he is able to provide them with a code of behavior. This is how we behave in this classroom. These are our core values as a class. These are the things that by which our class should be known by: kind, courteous, hardworking, pious, prayerful. Okay, whatever it is, but determine it in the first days of the school year. That's what we should be doing in the first days of school. Aside from rehearsing procedures, teaching and rehearsing procedures, one of the things we should be doing on the first day of the school year is this. Class, what should our class be known by? What are our core values? What is our vision for the class? That we are champions, that we are the class with the best character, that we are the class with virtues and self-control and hard work and winning all the champion. What is it that we want our class to be? And that becomes your class code of behavior. Good parents do it, right? Good parents tell their children, man, you behave properly, Dara. You are carrying the name of our family. It assumes that the parents have made me understand already what it means to carry the name of our family, that we should be known as kind, courteous, good, not using profanities, caring and loving. And so good parents also do that. They make their kids develop a certain mindset, code of behavior, vision, family vision, whatever it is, but that is what should govern them. Okay? So the more the school is able to say, students, you're expected to to behave in your best inside and outside the school. Why? Because you are carrying the name of our school. That is the role of school's mission, vision, and core values. And if you have not made your students understand, memorize, and really incarnate the school's mission, vision, and core values, that means your mission, vision, and core values are only posters and tarpaulins. This is what we should be spending the first days of the school year with the students with, reminding them about what do we stand as a school? What do we stand for as a school? What are the values by which every student of our school should be known by? Okay? If you notice, I've already given you a number of ideas on what to do, on how to prepare for the new school year, and how our orientation on the first day should be. Therefore, I have to remind you, teachers, because I know many schools do this, do not spend day one of the school year reminding students on how to get detained, dropped from the rolls, expelled, and suspended. And don't do it on day one, because I know some schools do it on day one. I know you want to review them on school policies, but that is not what you should be doing on day one. It's like emphasizing level one of moral development. Do that on third day, fourth day, fifth day. I mean, they're not going to get expelled right away anyway. I mean, I'm exaggerating. What I'm simply saying is, come on, there are other more urgent, important things to do on day one than threatening them with detention, suspension, expulsion, drop from the rolls, and non-readmittance, and all those policies that we want to review them with. That can be done later on, not on day one. Okay? So then, those are the 6 levels of moral development. And therefore, if we just focus on level 6, I want my students to develop level 6 thinking. Not 1, not 2, the 6th level of moral development, that they behave according to vision, principles, code of behavior, core values. So let's go to some strategies. Some of these I got from that cassette tape I got in 1992 from a friend who flew in from the US. He's one of the leading authorities on parenting, James Stenson. And he has a number of best-selling books on parenting. And he came to Iloilo, where I founded a school, Paref Westbridge School. I almost single-handedly put up the school, and I was the first director in the first 3 years. And then he came to visit to give some sessions to the teachers. And his pasalubong, his gift was a cassette tape of Harry Wong. Once and for all, you can solve that discipline problem. And there he talks about, you know, believe it or not, the kids want discipline even more than you do. Because no kid would like to be hurt, harmed, harassed, made fun of, teased by their classmates inside a classroom, all of which are problems of discipline. Okay? Now, let me give you 5 myths. Kasinungalingan tungkol sa pagdidisiplina, the 5 myths of discipline. Here's the first one. Do not smile until Christmas. I heard that being said by an older teacher advising a freshman teacher, a first-year teacher. Alam mo, don't smile. Don't smile at the students because if you do, they will take advantage of you and they will see how far they can go. No, make them, terrorize them. Make them see that you mean business and that you don't tolerate people making fun of you. That's not true. In fact, I will tell you, I think tomorrow on the class on advisory, I welcome my students on day one with my biggest, widest, fakest smile. And I tell them, congratulations, you're in the best class. This is going to be your most spectacular, exciting year. Come in, welcome to our class. Smile. We shouldn't be afraid to smile. It's a myth. Do not smile until Christmas is a myth. Number 2, Mr. Rantoy, I will not have problems with discipline if only I am big and tough. Because then my students will be scared, terrorized, and they will not even think of putting one over me, making a fool of me. No, I've had teachers who were big and tough, but they were very motherly. I mean, they were overweight, but they were very fatherly or motherly. They were very nice. They were not terror teachers. So big and tough is not true. Even if you're small and thin, if you know classroom management, you will not have problems with discipline. Here's third myth. Mr. Rantoy, we will not have problems with discipline if only there is high definition video projector in every classroom. If only I have the latest, this intelligent board, not blackboard, not Manila paper, but intelligent. Again, I said this already earlier. If your school can afford it, fantastic. Congratulations. Get it. Have them. But that is not what will solve the discipline problem. It's not the latest gadgets. It's not even number 4, middle class. Mr. Rantoy, if only my students come from middle class, kasi the problems are in the very, very rich, spoiled kids, or the very, very poor who don't have self-esteem. That's not true. It's not true. University of Asia and the Pacific, where I still continue teaching. I'm part of the School of Education faculty. I taught there for 2009, 11 years, 12 years. And we've had students there who came from provinces, they're scholars, and they can only afford for lunch the karinderya behind NEDA or at the back of NEDA office, together with the drivers, the jeepney drivers and the tricycle drivers. That's the only budget they can afford for their meals. But we also have students who are so rich. As soon as Malacanang announces the long weekends, they book a flight to Singapore, Hong Kong, and Boracay, that kind of rich. But it's not a problem. It's not, regardless of what economic background they have, if the teacher knows how to manage them, there's no discipline problem. So that's a myth. And here's number 5, and I especially address myself to the new teachers who are here. And if your new teachers are not here, make them attend the June session on classroom management. Friends, Mr. Rantoy will not have problems with discipline because I will be friends with my students. We will speak the same language. We understand each other. We are in the same level. That is not correct. First, it's a myth that you will not have discipline problem because you are friends with your students. In fact, we need to remind the teachers, young and old, you are not meant to be friends of your students. You are not meant to be merely friends of your students. You are meant to be a role model, someone the students should look up to, should see as their role model, someone they respect, not simply friends. Because in fact, I already mentioned earlier, I have seen tragic ends to this. teachers who try very hard to be popular, to be liked like a friend. They eat out with them in McDonald's. They watch movies. They even play computer games together. Worse, sometimes they, high school, college, they will even take beer together. And I've seen tragic ends to that, especially when students start getting confused. Ano ka ba, kaibigan o teacher? I mean, why did you get mad at the class today and you included us? I thought we were friends. No, you are not meant to be friends. It's just not the same. Be friendly. And we have to remind everyone, all teachers of this, be very, very friendly. But you are not just meant to be friends with them. Okay? Let me describe to you 4 classrooms. Here's one classroom, low control, low support. You know that kind of classroom where the teacher is afraid to control the class, is afraid to tell John to wake up, is afraid to tell John and Joey to stop talking because he's thinking, if I stop them, they might get mad at me. Never mind, talk there if you want. And the students don't like this teacher. These are the teacher, the students. The students are saying, I cannot even hear the teacher because my classmates are noisy and the teacher cannot control them. Low control. I have classmates who are sleeping and the teacher is afraid to wake them up. Low control and low support. They don't like that kind of teacher because the students think he doesn't know even how to control the class. He doesn't even know how to manage the class. He doesn't even know how to discipline the class. And they get bored. You produce a bored classroom. Here's a second type of classroom. Low control, high support. Low control now. You want to eat? Go ahead. Just stay there at the back and make sure Miss Principal will not see you. You want to text? It's bawal. But it's okay. You go there. You go to the court. Make sure there's no teacher passing by. Okay? Low control, but high support. The students like this. Oy, this teacher is cool, is chill. We can do anything we want. And this low control is because that's what you call the permissive teacher, which is very similar to a permissive parent. The parent will allow, go ahead. You want to go out and come back home at 2 a.m. from a party? Go ahead. Permissive, low control, thinking that they will like me. High support. But not all students are the same. Some are more mature and they will be able to read through the teacher and be able to say, itong teacher na to, trying hard to be popular, trying hard to be liked. And some of them get frustrated. You create a frustrated class. Of course, in both cases, kawawang bata. No? I mean, it's the students in the end who are victims. Here's another classroom. High control, low support. High control now, sit up straight. Eyes on the board. Listen here. Hands on your desk. Inhale. Exhale. I mean, high control. Terror teacher. Like as if even why are you smiling? Get out. What are you laughing about? Out. Hey, Sir, you cracked a joke. No, get out. I mean, high control. Terror teacher. But, some principals may get impressed. They enter the classroom and the class is very quiet. It's so quiet. It's as quiet as a cemetery, like everybody is dead. I mean, nobody even wants to move and make a slightest sound because the terror teacher will get angry. Low support. The students don't like that. The students are afraid of that. And worse, you are going to produce a revengeful class, a class that is just waiting for a chance to get back at that teacher. Revenge. What I want you to produce is a high control, high support classroom. High control now. Class, study hard for the exam, okay? And they will study hard to try to get 100%. High control. Class, let's win this championship in the Buwan ng Wika competition, and they will want to win it because high control, high support. You want them to recite, they will recite. You want them to keep quiet, they will keep quiet. You want them to participate in the discussion, they will. High control, high support. And the students give you high support because they know this teacher knows what he's doing. This teacher knows how to manage the class. This teacher is an expert. and you are going to produce a successful classroom. Okay, so I remind you the procedures and routines earlier is not disciplining, it's managing. But it's good to have a discipline plan. And I go around the Philippines visiting schools, and many times I ask them, do you have a discipline plan? Oh, yeah, we have rules, many rules. And if they break the rules, there's punishment. Okay, my question is, what if they follow your rules? Wala. Then the teachers don't have to get angry. Then the teachers don't have to. No, Harry Wong says there must be a third part. If they follow the rules, there should be consequences, positive consequences. In fact, there should be more positive consequences, more rewards than punishment, because you stand a better chance of getting the students to follow the rules when they're working to get a reward than to avoid a punishment. So, here are some samples of positive consequences. Some of them applicable to preschool, some others all the way to college. Just take a look at them, at the list. I forgot to click post of the PowerPoint presentation. But as soon as I finish our presentation today, this whole PowerPoint presentation is available for downloading in the Facebook page, okay? So don't worry if you're not able to copy, because some of you might be trying to copy. Okay, now let me just give you a sample. I'm proud of you statement. I use that reward even in college. In my MA students in UANP, I give them, I teach Latin and School of Education, Latin for Humanities MA students. And, you know, I make them do presentations. And in one of the last presentations they made, they were so good. The presentations were fantastic. And I had to tell the class, you know, how I wish we can present what you presented to the other schools, because I'm proud of you. I am proud of what you were able to come up with. So that's a consequence of following the rules. Okay, I forgot to mention, rules should only be enough that they can memorize. Okay, don't have so many rules that they cannot even memorize them. Not 20, not 30, just enough that they can I mean, if they cannot even memorize it, how do you expect them to follow the rules, right? So, for example, in my case, ever since I learned these principles of Harry Wong, I only had 3 rules in my class, and I explained them at the start of the school year. And I've done it in grade 4, fourth year high school, all the way to college. First, no unnecessary movement. 2, no unnecessary noise. 3, come prepared for class. Those are the only 3 rules I have, class, and make sure you follow them. No unnecessary movement, no unnecessary noise. Come prepared for class. And if you choose to break any of them, there will be consequences. But if you follow them, there are also positive consequences. And they came prepared for class. The presentations were fantastic. I'm proud of you. That's a consequence. More positive consequences, some of them applicable to preschool, others all the way to college. Let me just highlight one. Visit to principal for special acknowledgement. I do that. I would do that. I'll bring achievers among my class to the principal so that the principal can congratulate them personally. I will bring students, Mr. Principal, these 3 students are very honest. They turned in a wallet that they picked up. The principal will give them a special acknowledgement. You see, visit to the principal should not be a punishment, because some teachers do that. If they are so angry at a student, they say, get out, go to the principal's office, like as if it is the punishment of the highest rank. And then the student goes to the principal's office, and the principal asks the boy, oh, why are you here? And the boy says, I don't know, mom told me to come here. Of course, he's not going to say, I broke a rule. So, because going to the principal's office is not even in the procedure that they have for consequences. It's absurd, right? So here now are some negative consequences, some applicable to preschool, some applicable all the way to high school or college. Okay, just take a look at them and then you realize, yeah, some of them are already in our students' handbook, our standard consequences. More samples of negative consequences. Some applicable to preschool, others all the way to college. Of course, I'm sure your school already has policies about detentions, suspension, drop from the rolls, non-readmission. Those are all part of negative consequences of discipline, of breaking when the students choose to break any of your rules. Okay, so those are principles. There should be more rewards than penalties. Let's get straight into strategies. I have around 10-15 minutes left. Concrete strategies to manage the class, discipline the class, not in the bad sense that we have been talking about, but being able to get them to do what you want them to do. Sabi ni Harry Wong, according to Harry Wong, training of teachers on classroom management should be done in ballet studios where you have mirrors on the left, the right, everywhere. Because the most effective tool of disciplining, of classroom management, is what we call the stare. And this is what I was talking about earlier. How come master teachers just stand in front of the class and they look at the class and everybody starts to keep quiet? What is it? They have mastered the art of staring at the class, a staring that says, come on class, I expect best behavior. Stop talking. Without even saying a word, their look, their stare says all the things that you want to say. Come on, I want to see best behavior. Eyes here. No more talking. I'm about to begin my class. Show respect. All that in one stare. The thing is, we don't know how our face looks. I mean, you have never practiced the stare in front of the mirror. But if you practice it, some of you may realize the stare that you put on when you want the class to keep quiet is the stare that says, from what part of hell did you come from, you evil students? I want to kill you if only I can get out of this classroom. I mean, that kind of stare that says you are angry, but you are not saying, I expect best behavior. So Harry Wong said, look at yourself in the mirror and try to find that perfect stare. The perfect stare that will show or that will express, I expect best behavior. Come on, class. Stop talking. Listen now. I need to say something. Show respect. If you're able to discover that stare, use it to the utmost because Harry Wong said, the number one guru in classroom management, it's the best weapon we have to discipline a class if only we're able to perfect it, to use it. That is your procedure. Class, if I put on this specific face, it means I already mean business. I'm already about to get upset. I'm already getting tired. Show respect. Okay? That's our procedure. Let's try it. Let's rehearse it, etc. But you don't even have to be saying it. They just pick it up that when they see you with that kind of face, it means that. Now, here's a strategy I learned and I used, and it's very effective, and it's used by Harry Wong, Ron Clark, Hal Urban, Rafe Esquith, the best teachers you can ever find in the world. I mentioned Ron Clark. If your school is looking for a very inspiring movie for teachers to prepare the teachers for the new school year, make them watch the Ron Clark story. It's available in YouTube. I actually downloaded it and made it as part of the promo for registration for, I think for this May, no, for this seminar, or for June, that if you register at a certain time, you will receive 3 movies. Tuesdays with Maury, Ron Clark story, and then Harry Wong's video of a person dramatizing "You Changed My Life." That's the title. And if you don't have those 3 videos, send me an email in catalystpds@gmail.com. I can send you the link. Make your teachers watch those 3 movies. And I don't know if they're not going to get inspired. It's too much if they don't get inspired to be the best teachers they can possibly be. So what is the check system? The check system follows the principle of Harry Wong. Don't eat up academic time in order to discipline. Don't lose teaching time in order to discipline. Okay? Don't do what some teachers I know do. When they already get upset and angry, they stop teaching. And then for the next 30 minutes, they deliver a powerful sermon. No, Harry Wong said, please don't do that. You are stealing from academic time. That's supposed to be learning time. Don't do that. So what is the check system? Here's how it goes. You explain it, you teach it to the students, and then they should know exactly what is expected of them in the check system. So, for example, I'm teaching English subject-verb agreement, okay? I handled that for many years in grade 5, grade 6, grade 4, 5, 6. Subject-verb agreement. And then I will tell them, okay, class, subject-verb agreement. If the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. If the subject is plural, the verb should be plural. And then I noticed John and Joey talking. They have chosen to break rule number 2, no unnecessary noise. Remember, no unnecessary movement, no unnecessary noise, come prepared for class. They have chosen to break rule number 2 by talking and therefore unnecessary noise. I don't stop. I don't get angry. I don't even need to call the names of John and Joey. I continue lecturing while calmly picking up the chalk and writing on the board, John and Joey. So subject is singular, the verb is singular. The subject is plural, the verb is plural. I notice John and Joey talking. I pick up the pen. You have to keep this in mind because, and then I write the name. John and Joey know, because I explained it at the start of the school year, that if the teacher writes your name on the board, he is giving you a warning. No punishment, just a warning, because you have chosen to break one of his rules. And I can tell you, John and Joey will stop talking because they see they're being warned. I continue. But there are some subjects that are always singular. For example, someone, somebody, something, anybody, anything, nobody. And then I notice John and Joey talking again. I don't get angry. I don't shout. I don't scream. I calmly pick up the pen or the chalk and put a check mark beside their names written on the board. And they know, because I explained it at the start of the school year, that if your name is written on the board with a check mark, one check mark, it means you have to serve 5 minutes of detention in recess or lunch or dismissal, whichever is coming up next. A second check mark would mean that you will spend 15 minutes in detention inside the classroom, in recess, in lunch, or in dismissal, whichever is coming up next. A third check mark means that you are going to come back on Saturday to serve detention. A fourth check mark means that I will have to call up your parents. Every time they choose to break any of the rules, I put a check mark there. But I can assure you, once they see their name as a warning, they behave, they try not to break any of the rules anymore. The check system, it works. It really works. And the best part is, you never have to get angry. You just have to calmly pick up the chalk, write the name on the board, and put a check mark. And then the best part is, the next time you enter the classroom again, the next class, the next period that you're going to have this same class as a class, the board is erased. Everybody deserves a fresh new beginning. No mention of the previous class where two guys got two checks. No, no need to comment on those. Everybody deserves a fresh new beginning. The board is clean slate. Everybody starts with a clean slate. It works. And the best part is you don't lose academic time. And the best part is um, you don't get tired. You're not exhausted. You don't get exasperated. No wonder the best teachers in the world prefer to use it. Harry Wong, Ron Clark, Ray Fesquith, Hal Urban. Here's another system, stopwatch system. It's a reward system, and it works like this. I usually would have those clocks where you can actually still use this for online setup. I usually would have the clock with, okay, our period in Southridge usually would be 50 minutes per period, okay? At the start of the month, I tell the students, it worked perfectly well in grade school and even in high school. Okay, class, you have 50 minutes of reward in my clock. But remember, every time somebody chooses to break a rule, I will click the clock, it starts counting down, and you lose seconds from the reward. Okay, this is the reward clock. So, for example, that's set up earlier, that's situation. If the subject is singular, the verb is singular. If the verb is plural, if the subject is plural, I notice John and Joey talking. I don't get mad, I don't get angry, I calmly pick up the clock, raise it, and click it. It starts counting down while looking at John and Joey and still lecturing. John and Joey will realize that they are making the class lose seconds from the reward. So they will behave. They will stop talking and I will stop the clock. John and Joey made the class lose, let's say, 7 seconds. That's what it took for me to call their attention, to practically tell them to stop talking and keep quiet, and then for them to show me. I continue lecturing, and then suddenly in the middle of my lecture, Joanna stood up without asking permission, breaking rule number 1, no unnecessary movement. I don't get mad, I don't get angry, I don't even have to stop my lecture. I just look at Joanna, calmly pick up the rewards clock and click it. It starts counting down. You know what happens next? The whole class will look at Joanna and say, Joanna, sit down. The clock. There. Because at the end of the month, whatever is left as reward in the clock, I'm going to give them a menu of rewards to choose from. For example, after all the classes throughout the month that I had to click the clock and they lost, let's say 45 minutes left there in the reward, I'm going to give a menu of rewards to the class officers and I will tell them, make the class choose only one of the rewards in this menu. 45 minutes left, right? So 45 minutes, we're going to watch a video related to the lesson of the month. 45 minutes of quiz B. We're going to have a quiz competition, a class grouped into 2 sets. The questions will come from the lessons of the month. 45 minutes of treasure hunt game. They're going to try to compete with each other in forming a statement. The statement has something to do with the lessons of the month. 45 minutes of, I will not even hesitate to include in the menu, 45 minutes of exam open notes. You can open anything. 45 minutes, and of course the questions I will make sure cannot be found in the notes. They have to analyze and synthesize and do a lot of evaluations to be able to make the most of the open notes. 45 minutes of free time. You bring whatever book you want, magazine you want, and I will give you time to read. And I will not even hesitate to include 45 minutes of funny videos, nothing to do with the lessons. Why? Because I never had to stop my lessons. We finished everything we needed to cover. I never had to get angry. I never had to get mad. It was paradise the whole week, thanks to the watch, thanks to the clock. So it works. It works. You stand a better chance of getting the students to do what you want them to do when they are working to get a reward. Now, here's the perfect use. It's perfect during the face-to-face class setup. For example, you remember entering the classroom after PE time, your period, your class comes after a PE time. You enter the classroom. It's an all boys school. The chairs are in disarray. And sometimes you even find, what's that one sock doing there? What's that brief doing there on the floor? And everyone is now, an ineffective teacher will have to shout, scream, and yell to get everyone to fix up the room and be quick in order. No, I just calmly raise the clock and click it. And they continue losing seconds from the rewards clock for as long as the room is disorderly, disorganized, and they are in disarray and they are not ready for the class. You know what happens when they see you do that? They will shout, "Oi, fix the room, the clock, the clock." They hate the clock, but they like you because you're the one who's going to give them the reward. It works. I mean, really, it works perfectly well when it's used. Can you use it for online class? Yes, it's perfect, in fact, especially if you're the teacher complaining, my students come in late in the Zoom room, in the Google Classroom room. Okay, you tell them at exactly 2:02. Let's give allowance of 2 minutes for people. Your class is supposed to be, let's say, from 2 to 3 p.m. At 2:02, I will click the clock and you start losing rewards for as long as we are not complete. Okay, then they will try to make sure everyone is complete by 2 o'clock. I mean, try to adjust and apply all these principles to online setting. There are ideas you can come up with to be able to make the students do what you want them to do through procedures, through routines, through reward systems like this, but never ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, and yelling. Okay? Keep that principle in mind because it's the reality. It's now 5 o'clock, and there is no more time for us to cover other strategies. Most of these other strategies, I will make sure I cover in tomorrow's session on class advisory. In fact, that's why, yeah, I will spend very, very little time in principles on advisory and get straight into strategies, concrete application. But I just need to make sure you get the announcements right, okay? I want to make sure you, one is that you are already with us in the Facebook page. Okay, let me see. For the sake of those who are with us only for the first time, because I know we have some participants today who were not with us in the previous days. Okay, there is a Facebook page that I invite all the participants to go to and to join. Click join so that you can access hundreds of pages of handouts, books, and the recording of this video, of this presentation, and the PowerPoint of this, as well as the past 3 days sessions. Even if you didn't attend those sessions, you can access those PowerPoints and also the video presentations. Okay, that's the name of the page, facebook.com groups Better Teachers. Please make sure you join it. And then, as I also repeatedly announced, because some of you need your certificate very urgently, you will receive that certificate for participating in an international seminar. Send an email with a title. Please don't forget that detail because I received emails just with a full name. And what is this for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? So please make our work easier by putting in the title of the seminar you attended and then the full name as you want it to appear in the certificate so that we can cut and paste it. Okay. And if there are mistakes, because we've sent out 300 certificates already so far for the past 3 days, If there is an error, please don't hesitate to send it back and say, please change the middle initial, please change the whatever. Okay? Um, I want my certificate at gmail.com. Well, we've come to the end, and syempre, we cannot end without the traditional pictorials. Today is, it looks like the biggest group we've had with 100 with 11 pages, no, of participants. And I'm okay, still 9 pages because so I invite you to please turn on your screen and put on that biggest, widest, fakest smile that we can use. Thank you, page 1. Let's go to page 2. Open your screen, and that smile that shows we are happy, okay? And that this I hope this seminar so far has given you many ideas that you can use. Thank you. Page 4. Let's go to page 4. Just maintain that smile as long as you can. It's not very tiring. Uh, page 5. Let's go to page 5. Um, okay. Page 6. You don't know what page you belong to, so just try to maintain as long as you can that smile. We are now down to the last 3 pages. Great. And page 8. Sorry, page 8. Okay. So this is the last here in our page. Some people already exited. Good. Okay, so I see messages here. Yes, thank you very much. I'm able to read all the messages you put there because when I download the video, the presentation, the um, the messages appear in one text file. So yes, thank you. You're welcome for all the messages that you are sending here. And I hope to be able to see you again in our future seminars. I hope the strategies will help you. And I hope you will join us in our future seminars. We are going to have 3 new seminars in June and a repeat of 2. So there will be 5 seminars in June towards the end of the month of June. 3 new ones and 2 that are reruns. And so especially I would like to invite new teachers whom you just have hired during this summer break, and you want to prepare them for a new school year. They can skip the survival, fantasy survival, and go straight into impact if they learn many of these strategies. Okay, well, it's already 5:06, so it's time for me to say goodbye. Thank you very much for all your time, your support. We hope to see you again in our future seminars. Um, Questions, comments, please feel free to email them to us, catalystpds@gmail.com. And I will be ending this meeting in the count of 5, 4. Thank you very much, everyone. 3, 2. See you again. And 1. Bye, everyone. Please take care. Don't get sick. Stay safe. Stay healthy. God bless. Bye.